From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Wednesday the 4th of May. Good afternoon. Today we'll be discussing some of the biggest news stories, including the Indian Heatwave and the French left-wing Pact. We'll also be answering today's big question: why is the EU taking on Apple and other big tech giants? As well as discussing Boris Johnson's address to the Ukrainian parliament. Like every day, those last two things are exclusively in the extended version of the daily briefing, which is available on Nebula, with that version being about 3 times longer than the normal show. I'm telling you that because this week we're running a special offer, 42% off the normal price. That's just $11.59 for an entire year of Nebula. Anyway, it's linked below and I'll explain how to sign up at the end of this video. But first, EU oil sanctions. The European Commission has today proposed an EU-wide ban on the import of Russian oil, in its most powerful attempt to try and hit one of the Kremlin's main revenue sources. The embargo will be introduced gradually, with crude oil phased out within 6 months and refined products by the end of the year. This proposal is part of a 6th sanction package against Russia, which also includes disconnecting more banks from the SWIFT banking system and imposing sanctions on further individuals, including those alleged to be behind the war crimes we're seeing in Ukraine. These sanctions will still need to get the approval of each EU member state, and countries who are more reliant on Russian oil, like Hungary and Slovakia, are likely to push for exemptions, such as an end of 2023 deadline for Russian oil rather than the end of 2022 one. But we'll ultimately have to keep an eye on discussions as this story plays out. Next up, but staying with the conflict, in an attempt to try and demonstrate their successes in Ukraine, Russian forces are trying to implement the use of the ruble in occupied Ukrainian territory. In Kherson, the implementation of the ruble is just the latest in a number of Russian moves, including the cancellation of Ukrainian TV, replaced by Russian state TV, Russian flags hanging over Ukrainian government buildings, and the pro-Russian Z symbol being plastered across the city. With all of these moves combined, it seems that the Russians hope that the Ukrainians will simply submit to their aggressors. The thing is, though, that in Kherson at least, currency exchange offices remain open. As such, Ukrainian residents who want to defy Russian forces simply exchange the rubles they're paid for Hryvnia, the currency of Ukraine. Therefore, some in the city are skeptical that Russia will be able to fully introduce the ruble, and at least for now, that seems to be true. Up next, both India and Pakistan are currently suffering through a heat wave which has now lasted the best part of a week and is only expected to get worse. In fact, India actually experienced the hottest March on record, and temperatures in New Delhi have stayed above 43 degrees Celsius for the past 7 days. Things got even hotter in Jacobabad, Pakistan, which hit a terrifyingly high 49 degrees Celsius on Saturday, one of the hottest temperatures ever recorded on Earth in the month of April. And these heat waves are bad because they've exacerbated electricity and food shortages in both countries. Pakistan's been suffering through a currency crisis for the last 6 months, and rolling electricity blackouts have now been extended to as long as 18 hours a day. Similarly, 8-hour blackouts have been imposed in a number of Indian states. Indian farmers have also reported a 50% drop in wheat yield in the worst affected areas, which will only push food prices even higher. Up next, let's turn to Europe, where the French left are on course to be united for the first time in 20 years, as left-wing parties seeking a majority in the June parliamentary elections have officially agreed to an electoral pact. The deal has been shaped by Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who came in a narrow 3rd place in the first round of the presidential vote last month. Mélenchon's party, France Unbowed, have been joined by the Greens and the Communists under the banner of New Popular Ecological and Social Union. The once dominant Socialist Party are understood to have struck a deal to join the Pact too, but the party's National Committee will first need to approve it. And tensions over Mélenchon's Eurosceptic stance and the Socialists' pro-EU stance could cause some consternation. Either way, the group's goal is to deny President Macron a majority in parliament and force him to cohabit with a left-wing prime minister, giving the group at least a little bit more power. Finally today, while Elon Musk's SpaceX may be pioneering the self-landing rocket, this isn't the only way to make space travel more sustainable. Rocket Lab, a startup based in California, has this week successfully caught a rocket falling back to Earth with a helicopter. Now, it should be noted that this catch was only temporary, as the pilots didn't like how the rocket was held beneath them, and as such, it was released for a splashdown not long after they caught it. And while this wasn't exactly what the company will be hoping for in the future, it does work as a sort of proof of concept, and shows that there may be a future where rockets are caught by a helicopter and returned safely to land. That's all we have time for on YouTube today, but remember, it never gets cheaper than right now to get a full year's subscription to Nebula. That way you'll get the ad-free extended daily briefing every day, including the answer to today's big question: why is the EU taking on Apple and other big tech giants? And our discussion of Boris Johnson's speech to the Ukrainian parliament and Britain's relationship with the country. And all of that's available to watch on Nebula or stream in your podcast app of choice, as long as you're a member. Like I said, our friends at CuriosityStream, the streaming service which offers some of the world's best documentaries, is offering their best ever deal, whereby you can get both platforms, CuriosityStream and Nebula, for $11.59 a year. That's all the documentaries you could want on CuriosityStream, and then more TLDR on Nebula, including the extended briefing, other full exclusive TLDR videos, and it's always ad-free. Click the link below to get both services for less than $12 a year, the cheapest it's going to get, while also supporting the channel. Thanks for your support.